Alright, children, now we will be starting with the male reproductive system. I mean, how the things are arranged within the body. You have already learned about this structure. This is testis. I have already told you in the previous video. I have explained how the things are arranged within this testis, and this testis is responsible for two things. The first and foremost thing that makes it a primary sex organ is the formation of gametes, that is the male gamete sperm, and another thing is the presence of Leydig cells, which are responsible for secretion of the hormone testosterone. Right? You just have to see the pathway in this diagram, that's it, and you should understand how the sperm physiologically changes and alters the function while moving further. Right, so as of whatever we know now is this testis. Whatever I tell you this side is the similar thing happening the other side too. So please try to understand that. Once the sperms are produced in this testis, they are transferred to the first coiled area, epididymis. Right, epididymis. And I told you that epididymis is something which makes an immotile sperm a properly motile one. Right, so motility is gained when the sperms are first of all stored in this epididymis for some time. Right, then you see the long tubules. If you can see, this is the tract. Right, you call it vas deferens, and vas deferens, it is also known as sperm duct. Right, why it is known as sperm duct? Because now the sperms which are temporarily stored in this epididymis tend to move further. Right, one is their own motility that makes them move further. Another thing is the contraction and relaxation of the tubule, because this is also a visceral organ, involuntary organ. It automatically contracts and relaxes. So in that case, the tubules, they contract and relax, thrusting the sperm further and further. Right, ultimately the sperms, after covering this long distance, they go into this structure. Both sides will be having bilateral symmetry, so both sides are having this structure, and it is known as seminal vesicle. Children, seminal vesicle is basically, the name is, it has a secretory role. Right, it's a small vesicle that has a secretory role. It is responsible for the secretion of a transparent milky white liquid, just like gum. It is quite viscous, the liquid is quite viscous, and it is enriched with nutrition. You may say that it contains calcium, it contains fructose, it contains the enzyme hyaluronidase. This word must be sounding somewhat familiar, because hyaluronidase is also present at the top of this sperm. Whenever you go with the structure, you know that at the top of this sperm, the sperm has an organelle which is known as acrosome. Right, so hyaluronidase, basically the source of hyaluronidase is this seminal vesicle. Now, why this is important here? Once the sperm, they get into this seminal vesicle, this is the second temporarily stored area where some sperm stay for some time, and they get mixed up with the secretion present inside. I've just told you that the seminal vesicle secretes that transparent milky white fluid, which is known as semen. So once the sperms are mixed with the fluid which is secreted by seminal vesicle, here onwards you will never call them sperm, rather you will call them semen. Right, the sperm gets more matured and more physiologically active due to the absorption of calcium ions, fructose, and also takes on that enzyme hyaluronidase. Right, after taking this much and becoming physiologically more active, it goes. If you can see, ultimately these sperm ducts, they fuse with the urethra. Now urethra is something you have studied at the level of class 10th and even at the level of class 11th too, that in excretory system, that this is the tubular duct that contains that is actually responsible for micturition. That means the act of passing out of urine is carried out by this urethra. It's the opening, and it is ultimately connected to the urinary bladder. Right, why these sperm ducts are fusing with the urethra at this common point? The reason behind: males follow the common tract for passing out urine and ejaculating the semen. That means the transfer of male gametes and the act of passing out urine both are done by the common tract, which is known as urethra. Right, that's why both the ducts fuse at one point. The sperm duct also joins the urethral duct so that the common duct can be used for both the purpose. Right there. Then what you have to see is that now we know that okay, the semen would be passing this tract. First of all, the important thing about the urethra, it's a long tubular duct, and just because it is long, you have to divide it into three main portions. The urethra, which is surrounded by this prostate gland. Prostate gland is the male gland which is present just around the urethra, right? And the urethra, which is passing out across the prostate proximity, it is known as prostatic urethra. Then the middle portion is middle urethra, and the one which is passing in between the penis, right, inside the penis, that is known as penile urethra. So urethra is a long tubule. Prostatic urethra is the beginning, which is surrounded by the prostate, then the middle portion where the Cowper's gland are following, and the last one which is going across the penis, that is penile urethra, right? I'm just clearing up the diagram. Now that means we know that okay, this is the tract out of which the ejaculation has to be done, right? I just told you in my previous video that it's the penis which is the copulatory organ, and it is the external genital. External genital means that this is the only, this and the scrotum are the skinny bags in which the testes are present, right? They are protected, so both of these structures are only visible from outside, and it's the penis which is actually participating in sexual contact and releasing the ovum inside the female body. That's why we call it the copulatory organ, male copulatory organ, right? Once the semen starts getting into the starts passing through this urethra, now we know that urethra is also used for urine, passing out of urine, and urine is slightly acidic there. Now we have to see that we have to protect the sperms from two things, The first thing is the temperature, right? It cannot withstand high temperature. So in that case, what you have to do, we always see that these testes are protected inside the scrotum, the skinny bags outside the body. Why outside the body? So as to maintain a temperature 2 to 3 degrees lower than the body temperature. So first protection is provided by the scrotum, right? And the second protection is provided by this prostate gland. Now prostate gland is responsible for alkaline secretions. Alkaline secretions, why they are needed? Because in the center, urethra, the walls of urethra, they are acidic because of urine. The first acidic medium is countered due to prostatic secretions, because alkaline secretions, they nullify the effect of acidic medium in the urethra, and also at the time of maintaining sexual contact, because even the vaginal surroundings of female are acidic. So to counter the acidic medium at both the ends, this prostate gland secretes alkaline secretions, and which are released into the urethra only, so that sperms can be protected, right here. And the last gland that you can see is Cowper's gland. Now this Cowper's gland, it is also known as bulbourethral gland, right? Bulbourethral gland or Cowper's gland, it is responsible for secretion of lubricant. Now lubricant is needed at the time of sexual contact, so that the friction between the skins of penis and vagina, that friction can be reduced by this lubrication. So just to make things more slippery and frictionless, the lubricant is secreted from Cowper's gland, right? I will be proceeding with the further content in the next video.